This is Nick Nilsson, Mad Scientist of Muscle. What have we got for you today here is a review of cardio equipment. I don't have a heart attack, but I'm reviewing cardio equipment. Now, what this is the Yosuda mini bike for working out under your desk. Now, this is just a small stationary pedaling machine, essentially, that is small enough and compact enough to fit under a desk, as the name implies. Now, kind of a spoiler alert, this is a nice little piece of equipment. It can be a really good secret weapon for getting that LISS, which is low intensity steady state cardio, pretty much anytime you want. You could basically be sitting at your desk pedaling while you're doing something else and basically getting a lot of extra, cardio work, calorie burning, that kind of thing, while you're actually doing something else. So that's the purpose of it. Does it fit this purpose? Absolutely. Does it work very well for that purpose? Absolutely. Now, in terms of construction, this thing is very well put together. The pieces are plastic. The pedals here are actually solid steel, solid metal, so they're not going to break, they're not going to bend or bow or anything like that. It's a very, like I said, solidly built piece. Now, in terms of how to use it, this has got some cool features to it. Feature number one, this version that I've got comes with elastic bands. Now, for me personally, I don't think you really need to have these on here, to be quite honest, because what I find happens, if you don't have your feet on there, you can't really use it because this is just going to pop those things up. But, if you don't have a whole lot of other training equipment available to you, I have a whole basement full of gym equipment. This is going to help you get a little bit more out of it. So, you can be doing curls while you're pedaling. You can be doing, stiff arm pullbacks essentially. Some lateral raises, that kind of thing. Not really any sort of pressing or anything like that. The bands are a bit stiff, but like I said, not a big deal. It's kind of an add-on. It's just a nice bonus. I would consider that to be just a bonus in terms of the functionality of the bike part is really what we're after. Now, I'll take a close-up of this here in a second, but essentially, it's very simple. You've got the dial here to set the resistance. And this is magnetic resistance, so you're not actually like tightening up a tensioner like you have on the old school kind of bikes that actually mechanically changes anything. This is like a magnetic, so it actually uses magnetic force to increase the resistance. So I'll crank it all the way up, and it actually gives you a pretty decent amount of resistance. It's not climbing up the Alps or anything like that, but it's enough where you'll actually notice that you're doing something. What I like to do when I was using this bike and testing it out is actually not crank the resistance up, keep the resistance fairly low. So basically, I'm just kind of pedaling like that, able to do something else. It's very passive. I'm not really focusing on the pedaling, which for me is the purpose of having an under-desk stationary bike like this. The purpose of this to me is to basically be able to just mindlessly do cardio. Low intensity, steady state cardio. Now, one of the things you'll notice here is that the pedal rotational diameter is not very big. So you can see my knees are basically maybe going up and down 3 to 4 inches. It's not a whole lot, but honestly that's exactly what you're looking for in an under-desk bike. So imagine this, you're typing here, your knees on a regular size bike are coming up here, you're hitting the bottom of your desk if you have too high of a pedaling diameter here. Now, straps here to keep your feet in. You don't have to wear socks, you can wear shoes, whatever you want to put on your feet. Clearly it doesn't really matter, but definitely have the straps on because, just like with toe clips when you're using a regular bike, you want to be able to not only push down, but potentially use the other foot to pull up in addition. That's kind of one of the tricks of the trade of cycling is not only are you pushing with one side, you're pulling with the other. So when it's on low resistance, it's not going to be that big a deal, but you do want to keep these foot pedals, your feet kind of strapped in on the feet. Now, I wanted to give you a close-up view of the machine here as well. You can hear that you basically can't really hear anything. This is one of the benefits of the magnetic resistance on here. There's not a lot of sound, not a lot of noise. So you can actually use this in a quiet office and you're not going to disturb anybody. Nobody's going to be complaining about how much noise your underdesk bike is making because it's essentially silent. mean, I don't know if the camera's even picking anything up in terms of noise. But what this does also here, it has a screen, tracks your speed, tracks your distance. It doesn't track resistance because that is just dialed in over here. But it's got the basics. You know, if you're doing this essentially just to kind of, you know, do it under desk mindlessly, you're not going to really probably be paying a whole lot of attention to that. If you're using it more seriously, then you're going to want to pay more attention to that. Now, as you can see, I've got this sitting on top of my bench. You can sit this on top of a table, which is actually a better idea than a bench. I just don't have a table in my basement here. But you can use this as an upper body cycle ergometer as well, which is a nice alternative use for this. And, you know, it's just a simple matter, grabbing the pedals. They are kind of scalloped here, so you can literally use them to grip onto. And then you're just doing the upper body training like so. And you can crank that resistance a little higher. And, you know, if this was sitting on a flat surface, it would be better. I don't have a flat surface like that, but you kind of get the idea. So if that was sitting on a table, then you're actually getting some pretty decent resistance for your upper body. Now, this piece of equipment is actually ideal for seniors who basically almost need just passive movement. So when you set it to the lowest setting, it literally takes hardly any effort. You could even get somebody started and then just kind of let them slightly move their arms. There's literally, you know, hardly like one finger of resistance here and I can move these things. That's what I like about this piece of equipment, is that not only is it good for using under the desk for simple cardio training, just like mindless cardio training, while you're being productive and doing something else, this can be used on top of a table for people who need more upper body training. This could be used at a very low setting for somebody who is not very strong in the legs as well and also just needs almost like passive movement. They do need to do some movement to contribute, but not a whole lot. And because it's not a big, giant, you know, pedaling diameter, it's actually very doable for somebody who has limited mobility, limited range of motion. Now, one really cool feature that I really like about this thing is that it's Bluetooth enabled. So you can actually connect your stationary bike to your phone, track all your stats. It works in conjunction with a couple of different tracking apps. One is Zwift, one is Kinomap, and these allow you to not only track all your cycling stats, but you can actually do group rides. You can do essentially video rides where you're not only pedaling, but it tracks your progress on a video, you know, a virtual reality kind of video as you're doing the cycling. So this allows you to not only get more visual interest if you're not doing just like mindless stuff while you're working, but you actually want a more dedicated kind of workout. This is a fantastic way to do that using either one of these apps. They both work in different ways, but kind of in a similar fashion, in that they track in real time your pedaling, your power, your distance, your speed, everything. So that reflects onto the screen. So that's a nice feature to be able to connect these things to that thing. Now, because they don't actually have their own app, you do need to download those from, you know, the Google Store or the Apple Store, or whichever. But those are free apps. They have paid versions of them to give you more features, but the basic free versions give you some decent functionality, especially in terms of tracking, in terms of being able to adjust your pace, you know, determine how many calories you're burning, how far you've gone, you know, which can be very motivating to see what you've accomplished while you're doing this kind of thing. So, bottom line, if you're looking for a way to get some extra cardio work in while you're doing something else, I love this thing. This is, to me, a really cool secret weapon for fat loss, because doing low intensity steady state cardio is not particularly interesting or fun to me personally. Being able to just sit this under my desk and just kind of let my legs pedal, you know, while I'm able to focus on doing something else is great. I'm no multitasker. I'm terrible at multitasking, but because this is so easy to use, I don't even realize I'm doing it. I'm just like mindlessly pedaling. I'm not sleeping, but I'm not focusing on doing this. And that's, I think, the real key benefit to this. And like I said before, there are other benefits. You can set this on top of a table, do upper body work. Gives you a decent amount of resistance on the highest setting. On the lowest setting, it gives you low enough resistance that pretty much anybody can use this and benefit from it. It's a well-designed, well-constructed piece of equipment, and you know, just a few, I wouldn't say even downsides, but maybe not strong features like the cable things. Like I said, kind of a bonus. I didn't find myself using them really at all, because I personally have a whole raft of equipment in my basement. For somebody who doesn't have a whole lot, it can be a great benefit. So, bottom line, this is a piece of equipment for its purpose. I think it's excellent, and I could highly recommend trying it out, getting one. They have several different variations of it, and this is the top of the line one. The step down one is also, I'm sure, going to be quite good as well.